Swan author Nassim Nicholas Taleb says, understanding how to act under conditions of incomplete information is the highest and most urgent human pursuit. And he might have been referring to B2B marketing. Think of it. Internal teams have internal data that give insight into customer accounts and lifetime value. Agencies are close to different data, media auction signals, campaign trends, but both of them are data poor, disadvantaged by limited access to each other's systems. As long as we tolerate the status quo, both sides will keep making false assumptions and poor decisions that harm their relationship. The same problem exists in occupations and athletic pursuits, where having one person do it all brings the risk of making a wrong move. The solution is a two-person team, where each compensates for the other's blind spot. One of the earliest examples comes from a young French acrobat in the mid-1800s who experimented with an aerial act that he and his teammate performed over a pool. He was Jules Léotard, and yes, his name's become synonymous with the gymnast outfit he wore. His most dangerous maneuver started up high on the trapeze with a teammate who dangled by their legs as they swung from their trapeze. And when they were at the apex of their swings, he'd vault off into the air to be grabbed by his teammates' arms. Now talk about trust. There are many modern equivalents where people work in pairs. We have baseball pitchers and catchers. We have synchronized swimming pairs vaulting each other out of the water. Airplanes are flown by captains and co-pilots. Police and military cover for each other in tactical operations. Train locomotives are jointly operated by an engineer and a conductor. Our guest strives for 360-degree views of data when working with his clients. He's done B2B marketing for startups and brands like Nokia and Alcatel-Lucent. And in 2023, he founded Zinc Marketing. Beyond this, he has been featured in ABC and Business Week and tech and healthcare publications. He's also co-host of the B2B Marketing Pint podcast. And his love for camera gear helped us still record this when some of my equipment broke. Head with me to a local pub to hear about trapeze performances done by agencies and clients. From Brendan Ziolo. Brendan Ziolo, welcome to Funnel Reboot.
Thanks for having me, Glenn.
We both are in the same Ottawa marketing community.
Yes, we are.
And what we also have in common is that either in our past or present, we have been both in-house marketers as well as agency owners.
That is true.
Right.
And that's not as common as you would think.
Right.
I'm finding out many people are one or the other.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you did it from in-house marketer to agency owner, and that's been going for how long?
We're 4 years this month.
I want to understand how a person can explain the measurement of their marketing, what they're actually getting for the marketing spend when you're doing it in-house and also when you are an outsourced vendor. Some things are the same, some things are really different. What would you say stands out to you as the biggest difference?
So visibility is the short answer to that. So most agencies, now we do have some clients that are a bit different here. Agencies tend to have less, I'll call it access. They don't have all the information. They maybe have access to this marketing automation platform or the email marketing platform, but not to the CRM side, right? And there's obvious reasons for that. You're not internal. You're not part of the company. You don't know how long the relationship is. But if you come to measurement, not having that complete picture can be a big challenge, especially from an agency perspective. I'm not saying in-house they have it all figured out, but your chances are increased because at least you don't have that access and control issue that I do find frequently on this side. Having said that, sometimes as an agency, I have data the client doesn't have just because of the campaigns or other things we're running, and obviously we would share and give access to it, so it's not a roadblock. But yeah, depending where the data and measurement lives, you need the complete picture, and it's not always there both inside and outside.
No, we can't get around the fact that the systems are usually stratified by level of funnel. So especially if you're asked to be at the upper end of the funnel, you're going to put your work in here, but the result comes out there. And that can
I've never
sometimes...
thought of it as the level of the funnels, but yeah, there's definitely an element of that for sure. I just think there are very few tools and probably none that really ever pull that all together. And most organizations tend to have, they probably don't have two or three. It's the 5 to 10 range when it comes to things. And that's, to me, the core issue. I hadn't actually thought about them being layered by funnel, but that's a good point.
And then with the multiplicity of systems, you've got a different issue of you're using different channels. What one of them calls a conversion, another doesn't. What one of them calls an engaged session, another doesn't, right? And so now you get into the semantics of, okay, what's common across these things that you can actually use. And the one that has ruled the day in B2B for us for a very long time has been the marketing qualified lead. We have people who are prospects. They are part of a large committee, so you can't necessarily work at an individual level. You're at the account level, or they're even using agents on their behalf going out and looking. So that pinnacle measure of the marketing qualified lead is coming under a lot of attack. Do you think it is as important as it has been in past?
So the simple answer is it's not as important now, but I would have made this case many years ago as well. So
Go for it.
Me, marketing's measurement KPI should always be revenue. And I get pushback frequently because they have a very narrow view, but I think revenue as the gold standard or the key metric that everyone's going for helps to align sales and marketing, but the entire organization. And I think it's hard to dispute that's really what makes business run is revenue. So I think that's the core metric. And then it's how do you measure, or what are the metrics beneath that show you're getting traction there? And if you put MQLs at that level,
yes.
So it's not the end goal, it's one of the steps along the way. I think there's still traction. I think there's still positives there. What I have seen is it's less about the M, the Q, and the L, but it's what does that mean within the organization? Because frequently within an organization, what marketing considers an MQL does not align with what sales thinks an MQL should be, right? And even within certain teams, they may have different metrics. So I kind of don't care if it's an MQL or hot lead or gold lead or whatever you want to call it. It's like, what does that mean there? Like, does it mean it's in the ICP?
Yes.
Does it mean they have budget? Does it mean someone's qualified it in person / through a longer conversation than a form fill? Does it mean it's going to become an opportunity, etc.? There's a lot of measures, a lot of aspects under that MQL. So to me, it's less about the 3 letters and what that means.
Yes.
And then how does that connect ultimately to revenue? And what are the steps in between there, right? Because you're never going from MQL to revenue. Some organizations have SQLs, some have demos, opportunities, etc.
Yes.
How many steps along there? Because quite often conversion rates between the steps is as important as the numbers themselves. If you're generating 100 with a, let's argue, 100% conversion rate, clearly never would happen.
No.
But that's amazing, and you need fewer MQLs then, or whatever that measurement is, versus the one that's converting 1%, right? So there's also that ratio that some organizations don't always track or always optimize for.
Yeah, we both have our experience in the technology world, and I've seen many times where you can do those counts of leads, but when you look at them, they're so different from each other. Maybe your company has a suite of products and the average order value at the top of the line is 10 times what it is at the bottom. So just trying to say we need leads is the average is so misleading. You're right, Brendan. So the range between the largest order value and your lower end product order value is so broad that it just doesn't make sense to say that you want a certain number of MQLs because they're apples and oranges.
Yeah. No, and there's also the opportunity of like upselling your customer base, right? And like, are those ever going to really be MQLs? Probably not. They take a whole different type of marketing and sales effort. How do you measure that? Because at the end of the day, they may feed a big chunk of your revenue, especially on a regular basis. I mean, at least that's the dream for most companies, to get it from an existing customer base versus new customers. So yeah, I've always found that is another nuance that's missed with MQLs. I've been in organizations where they'll count existing customers as MQLs, and I'm like, they're not really.
No.
The sales team is probably driving them and driving that engagement, but marketing can play a role there, right? What are the cross-sell opportunities? What is the content needed? Or how do you stay in front of those existing customers so they know you can help them with B, C, and D, not just A type thing. So it does present, when you think of a more holistic funnel and revenue being the goal, it does open up more potential opportunities for marketing to help too, not just generate MQLs blindly sometimes.
No, and the other thing that I think we have to grab as a misnomer is that MQLs are heading down through the funnel. In a B2B setting where your sales, and you can see by the CRM, they very clearly have touched prospects in the past, and yet it might be some marketing content that is reactivating that prospect that just wandered off. But yeah, that's not necessarily an MQL. I mean, they went up, down, and back. I gather you're not into this, let's carve up revenue as if this piece is sales and this piece is marketing, and if we get into a disagreement, we're going to step out into the alley and settle this.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of, like, the organization's not going to be successful until sales and marketing are aligned. So any of those walls, any of those divides just don't help that. Now, I still like the funnel as a master concept, right? Because it just helps that you've got a lot of people here interested. Let's argue that's the target market. How do you have contact? How many fit ICP, et cetera, demos, et cetera, et cetera. And then use it as an analysis point, like I said, right? 100% of your prospects are converting. Well, maybe you can take the summer off, right? Because you're laughing. We know that's not realistic. Then where does it break down, right? Because people don't spend enough time on that, right? They're like, we generated 100 MQLs, we're done. It's like, well, no, you're not. If 0 of those converted, right? The other extreme. Or one in figuring out where it is.
You'll need to allow time for that. So
absolutely,
you shouldn't be twiddling your thumbs while that's happening. Maybe what you could be doing is finding routes to enable sales, squish that time down.
Yeah.
But there's got to be more that you can do. When it comes to being an outside vendor, you have limited time to position yourself as that trusted partner. But I'm sure when we start to get into measurement, one of the things that comes up pretty quickly is, are you giving me numbers because they make you look good, or are you giving me numbers that we could look at together and maybe spot a problem in? What's your answer to doing that, to thread the needle of giving them information, but also not looking like you're creating a noose by which you'll hang yourself?
If it's not working, let's figure out how to fix it. I don't try and spin the data, because at the end of the day, they need to see what's working, not working, so we can make it better.
Even before they sign, you're like, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of conversations with potential clients where that's one of the frustrations with agencies, is that it's a black box. We gave them X thousand a month and we got nothing, but we don't know why. And sometimes they're more frustrated with the we don't know why than the money they gave them in the first place. They want to understand it so they don't make the same mistakes. So yeah, I tend to give them a lot of access to any of the tools we're using.
Good.
A lot of the platforms do allow that now. There are some that don't, but agency versions of platforms exist, and I'm thinking like LinkedIn, email, and social media type platforms.
To the back
you
end,
can do it.
paid.
Yeah, or at least a client view, right? Like, it's obviously there's privacy and other elements between the clients you need to be aware of. But yeah, if you give them their view, that's important. And then obviously I help them build the reports for the execs or whoever they're talking to, right? So there's often a lot of collaboration about that. Now, part of that is we don't see everything they're doing and vice versa, so you kind of need it. But at the end of the day, we're a team. We want to present the best foot forward, and if something's not working, what are the fixes, right? So yeah, it tends to be a more transparent view for me. That's not always the case from what I hear, but yeah, you're not going to solve anything without sharing all the info and with the team, people who can fix it.
Yeah. So you have obviously a couple of things that you must talk with them about before they engage with you? And in this bit of a tango that happens between the prospect and the agency, you got to come down to brass tacks on metrics. Are there things that you think you say that you notice that you can tell they haven't heard from other agencies? That what things do you think, even just as a matter of integrity, are important for the outsourced partner to say to kind of signal that they really mean it?
I mean, it starts with how I look at marketing contributing to revenue out of the start. That can be news to people when I talk to them, because a lot of agencies don't talk that game. It's about impressions, maybe engagements with some. We sent 10 million emails. That's what they're tracking, right? Which to me, I don't care how many you sent, and I would never send 10 million. So I think it starts with we're very forthcoming about our focus being on revenue.
Yes.
And to me, it's not just an email campaign or a LinkedIn campaign. It's the content, it's the messaging, it's everything. So we tend to look at it holistically. So I think that's a big part of it. We're also very transparent with our business model too. We don't blindly bill retainers. We track everything against retainers as well, so that gives them a comfort level. Less about metrics, but I do know there's frustration with we pay them $10K a month and have no clue what we're getting.
Right.
It's clear about that, and yeah, it also keeps us honest. We always have to earn our keep or earn the next project, right?
Yeah.
Even if we're in a retainer model, it's still, we got to be always delivering, and I think that's what people want.
And when you're delivering, it seems that you don't mind asking tough questions also of the company. This is their business model, and you're going to provide deliverables that accelerate what their business is doing. You want to know that they have a good foundation. What are some kind of questions that you hammer them with? Or are there times when you have asked questions and thought, I don't know if I want to be working with this company because they don't seem to have their act together?
I mean, I think I look at those as an opportunity to make them better, right? But my two favorite questions that are red flags for me, let's put it that way, in opportunities. One is like, so who is your ICP or who are you selling to?
Right.
And you get the everyone or some variation on that, right? Like just a market that is so vastly broad, and they're a small company, and it's like, okay, you can't do that. So to me, that's an opportunity to talk about how focus and clearly identifying that will help you deliver better results for the same investment, right? Is how I would approach it with them. But it's also like, you need to do this in the back of my head. And I think the other one is always for your competitors, and it's like, I don't have any. Yeah. We're unique in the market and stuff like that, which to me is always like, and that one I'm a bit more bold with, because I just think it's really, I don't understand it. So when someone says it to me, I'm like, okay, that only says two things to me. That says you don't have a market, which is clearly bad for you, or you're not really understanding the problem you're trying to solve. Yeah, because they're always, most people define competitors as direct people doing exactly the same thing, but in the real world, that's rarely what it is.
Correct.
It clearly happens, like with replacement type deals and things like that, competitive replacements, that happens, I get it. But the vast majority is they're doing something inefficiently today, right, that could be done better with your products. Your competitor is how they're doing it today, and I'm dating myself a bit, but like fax machine is a valid competitor. Excel spreadsheet is a valid competitor. The one. But yeah, and people don't think of it that way, and it's like, but yeah, how can you replace the Excel spreadsheet and do this in seconds rather than weeks? Yeah. So those to me are the, like I said, I see them as opportunities to help them do better, but yeah, those are always the ones I probably laugh a bit about after the call. It's like, we got work to do.
Yes, or we have to propose to do some of that analysis up front with them, otherwise we're just perpetuating a mistake.
Yeah.
When you're talking with a company, new technology is a great one, new market entry is another one. What sorts of things are your go-tos for saying, we are going to try and stab out at some kind of target, but here are the unknowns, and we need to be clear that these targets are really directional.
Yeah.
It's what we're going to learn by going after this, not necessarily what we're going to hit.
Yeah. And we tend to work with a lot of smaller companies, so startups and scale-ups as they start to grow, so that's frequently the case. What I have found is that as much as we'd like to think every industry and every type of customer is very unique and those percentages, conversion rates, etc. are going to change, I've been doing this a while and they tend to be in a very narrow range. They're not as different. There's 100 prospects out of there, 10% of those are likely in your ICP, ready to buy types of things, and then another maybe 20-30% become opportunities. Those have proven to be very consistent across the number of companies I've worked with, both in-house and on the agency side. So I tend to rely on the experience to map out the early ones, and then as you point out, this is a stab in the dark because we don't have the data. We need to measure and build this for you, but I am comfortable with these because I've seen them similar in these ranges time and time again, right? But let's also, at the same time I'm saying that, let's build the systems to track this, because maybe it's different and maybe it's lower, and there's a lot of things we can learn from it. You just aren't there yet, and I get it. We have a starting point,
And I also like how the top end of your range, like that you name that too. I don't aim to do as much as you possibly can. Like, sky's the limit. We want to blow the doors off this. Yes, your strategy can be bold, but we're going to hit a point where to do 10% more effort will require 80% more cost. So you want to be careful that as you rise on that power curve, you don't push it too far.
Yeah, and there's other elements of that too, right? Do you have the sales team, have the support, can you fulfill, etc.? So yeah, growth is great, but is it manageable, is it sustainable, or is it going to cause more headaches down the road? So yeah, you want to make sure you clearly understand. It may not be worth it, right? Because at some point I do get revenue growth, and I said revenue was the metric, but there is that profit word too that marketers tend to not always talk much about. So yeah, the growth can, if it's impacting profitability or not returning the same margins, then that can be an issue too. So there's the other financial metrics that you need to be at least aware of and understand. So you're either asking the questions or evaluating it appropriately, whatever you're...
And I think in paid, that is particularly true. Prospects need to understand that things don't rise in a linear fashion forever. So whether it's too much reach and frequency, or whether it is you've exhausted all the good ad inventory, and now the platform is throwing you its garbage inventory. So we have to be careful that some of the metrics that we are looking at on those, that the metric doesn't become more important than the core goal.
Yeah, and it also needs to be looked at holistically, right? Because you do want to be looking at the cost per YouTube view, right, versus maybe the cost per view on LinkedIn, maybe the cost per impression or engagement. So you need to look at all of those, right? But at the end of the day, what is the cost per opportunity or to generate that revenue, right? Because the cost per view over here may be dirt cheap, but if 0 of that converts at the other end, it's not cheap. It's
you paid
really
for all the ones
expensive.
that didn't convert.
Yeah, it's really freaking expensive, etc. And I do find
I love you bringing up LinkedIn there. That's a classic one.
I do find a lot of measurement is very this platform measurement is this platform measurement is this platform measurement is this. It's not consolidated as you move through the funnel is problem A, and then B is what's the value of a YouTube view versus a LinkedIn engagement versus whatever other platform, a webinar lead, let's say, a webinar where they're form fill. So you've got to figure out a way to bring that all together and make sure they're all defined. Because I also see a lot of people an engagement is an engagement is an engagement. Well, no, it's not. Someone hitting the little heart on whatever is probably worth a lot less to you than someone reposting something or commenting on it, right?
Just watch the most amazing webinar.
I just thought I'm going to buy the ultimate, right?
When AI comes into play, there are a few things. You say to it, I'm dumping a lot of information from some campaigns into you. What can you tell me about it? And it will sift through and it will detect some signals, but the question is, are those the ones that matter? Do you have any general approaches to how metrics and AI, can they be BFFs, or are we always going to have to keep ourselves in the loop?
Yes, we always need to keep ourselves in the loop, is the short answer there. I'm a bit surprised at how much we think we can be hands off right now with everything from AI drafting a blog post to measuring things and figuring things out from there, right? So what I think is, I had a boss who's now a friend of mine, and she was always, this is pre-AI, she always called them SFDs, which the shitty first drafts, right?
Yep.
She was always like, I just need that, right? And I still think that's the right mentality to have with AI, right?
Yes.
Maybe it's slightly better than shitty, but it's not the final draft is the point, right? So whether it's you're doing it to help write, whether you're doing it to analyze some data, whether you're doing it to brainstorm, whether you're doing it to research, I think the people who have experience and know what works, what doesn't, what's good, what's bad, what they're trying to do, and then either go back and forth with AI or just edit it on the other side, right? I think that's really where it comes into play in my mind now. Very powerful, can do a lot of things, can help increase your efficiency. I just really don't think we're at the point where it can do it all for me, right? I know people are claiming it and it's working. I just am still a bit surprised. Maybe I'm the grumpy old man in this scenario, but I think there to be a human in the loop, to your point.
We probably need to slice it a bit thinner. There's predictive, which I think is a lot older and a lot more established, and I mean, most of the platforms that we use, they're using AI. In fact, they're kind of removing our choice of whether we use AI or not. On the generative side, though, I like how you said that it's only going to be so good on that first draft. How transparent do you think you need to be when you're working its way into what is shared with the client?
I think everyone assumes now it's being used. I think that's the simple answer. But yeah, I mean, again, to my transparency point, like when people ask us, it's, are you using AI? Yes. Are you using it? I mean, we'll explain how we may use it in their particular product, but more generally speaking, it's like we're using it in early stages, like I said, for drafts, for research, for brainstorming. But then what you see from us, whether that's the blog post, the strategy, the messaging, whatever, that humans have done that. We've been back and forth. We've used multiple either platforms to query it, weaving it to another level. We're not taking what it gives you, and then we're reviewing it internally, right?
Yes.
Someone used AI to help draft blah, someone else is reviewing it as well. So we have multiple checkpoints.
Maybe more rigorous thinking goes into it, and I think where that does come out in transparency is on the timesheets and the reports that accompany the invoice of, okay, you probably will notice, if you've been with us for a while, that we are doing all the things as we were, but we have shifted in how we do them.
Yeah, that's true. And then I also think there's the element of, I think there's a misconception sometimes that AI will necessarily make that project cheaper and have less effort in it and make it faster, right? Because at the end of the day, there's still these multiple checkpoints, there's some back and forth, there's some reviews. So yeah, on the surface, is it faster? Yes. Can you be more efficient? Yes. But people are expecting something that took 10 weeks to take 10 seconds sometimes now, right? It's not that drastic. And there's other things, to your point, that we can be doing. We did more competitive research. We gave you 10 options, not 3, whatever thing is.
We brought the quality of, let's say, that written content up a notch. We sat down and interviewed people in your C-suite, peppered in quotes. That wouldn't have been possible if our copywriter had to do it all from scratch.
Yeah, and it does allow, don't get me wrong, it does allow for faster delivery of things sometimes. And yeah, what else could you have done, right, during that time?
Yeah.
So it's a week that we need. Yes, we could do it in 2 days, but in a week we can do 3 more things to make it even better, right? Because you need to raise the bar of what you're delivering as an agency, but what you're putting out as a company.
And I think this is going to become something that we're all living by. Agencies were the earliest that had to do things like timesheets or show operational metrics. Agencies have to make that work visible. A nice response back to that is, here are the things that humans have to do and that we're choosing to do, and they're quantifiable.
Yeah. And I think the other part too that I would add is I've always been a massive proponent of quality over quantity. And
Right.
AI can clearly solve the quantity side of things, but then what is the quality? What do we need to go after, right? And how do we make that better? So it's not about, instead of doing one video, I can now do 10, or one LinkedIn post, I can do 50.
Yep.
You don't need 50. What are the 5 really good LinkedIn posts you should be doing, or whatever tactic we're talking about?
Yeah, and again, we're recording this in 2026, but for the time, quality requires a considered person, and it requires hours.
Yeah.
So we should actually be pretty sure of ourselves when we're saying those hours need to be taken. We should put those alongside of the performance numbers so that people say, here's the input and there's the result. Right? Brendan, what we haven't mentioned so far is some of the content that you put out yourself.
So I'm actually working with a behavioral scientist right now, and we're doing a series called Email Autopsy. So we're actually taking emails from our own inbox and taking them apart from a marketer's perspective and a behavioral science perspective to come up with tips and stuff. So we just launched that today with our first episode on subject lines, but we're going to kind of go through all the elements of email over the series. We've removed the names for those that didn't quite do a good job, but we did give credit where people did.
I love it.
Where we did have good email.
So some get arrows, but some also get laurels.
Yeah,
so.
and I think someone from a totally different perspective, from the behavioral science perspective, is she's teaching me new things in every episode. It's awesome that way.
Fantastic. And the best place for people to reach out and get a hold of you?
LinkedIn is probably where I live and breathe, so I'm easy to find there. It's great to have a last name that's not super common. And zincmarketing.com.
Brendan, I've really enjoyed having you on. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Glenn. Thanks so much.
Thanks for giving us better insight into our funnel so we can make it better.
Thanks for listening. Follow the show on Twitter @Funnel Reboot. If you like what you have heard today, please consider leaving a review wherever you get your podcasts.